The lobby of the Grand Meridian Hotel buzzed with the usual chaos of a Friday evening in downtown Atlanta. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over polished marble floors, where guests in tailored suits and elegant dresses glided toward the bar or the elevators. Amid the hum of conversation, a sharp voice sliced through the air like a knife. "Ma'am, you can't just walk in here like you own the place." The words, dripping with disdain, came from a young hotel clerk behind the reception desk. All eyes turned to the woman at the center of the commotion, Amara Jenkins, a tall black woman in a sleek navy blazer and jeans, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She stood frozen, her leather briefcase slipping slightly in her grip as the clerk's accusation echoed. Amara's eyes narrowed, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm checking in. My reservation is under Jenkins." Her tone was calm, professional, but the clerk, a wiry man named Todd with a name tag, slightly askew, scoffed, folding his arms. "Reservation? Look, we don't have time for this. You need to leave, or I'll call security." The crowd murmured, some stepping closer, phones already in hand, ready to capture the drama. Amara's jaw tightened, but before she could respond, a woman in a red dress nearby whispered loudly to her companion, "She doesn't look like she belongs here." The words stung, but Amara held her ground, her heart pounding as the lobby seemed to close in around her. The tension was palpable, a storm brewing in the opulent space. Outside, through the towering glass windows, Atlanta's skyline glittered under a dusky sky. But inside, the atmosphere crackled with hostility. A security guard approached, his hand resting on his radio, eyeing Amara as if she were a threat. The clerk leaned forward, his voice louder now, performative. "This is a high-end establishment. Ma'am, we have standards." The crowd's whispers grew into a low hum, and Amara felt the weight of every stare. She was no stranger to prejudice, but this public shaming in a place she knew better than anyone cut deeper than she expected. Amara took a slow breath, her mind racing. She could feel the familiar burn of injustice, the kind she'd faced too many times growing up in a small Georgia town where her ambition was mocked as reaching too high. But this was different. This was her hotel. She was Amara Jenkins, the CEO of Meridian Enterprises, the very company that owned this chain of luxury hotels across the South. Yet here she was, being treated like an intruder in her own domain. She reached into her briefcase, pulling out her ID. But before she could speak, Todd snatched it from her hand, inspecting it with a sneer. "This doesn't prove anything," he said, tossing it back onto the counter. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, and Amara's patience began to fray. She leaned forward, her voice low but firm. "Check the system again." "Jenkins." "Amara Jenkins." Todd rolled his eyes, tapping lazily at the computer. The security guard stepped closer, his radio crackling. Amara's mind flashed to her journey, years of clawing her way up from a scholarship kid at Spelman College to a titan in the hospitality industry. She'd built this empire, brick by brick, only to be humiliated in her own lobby. The irony was bitter, but she refused to let it break her. "You're making a mistake," she said, her eyes locked on Todd's. He laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound that made the crowd shift uncomfortably. "The only mistake here is you thinking you belong," he shot back. The standoff stretched on, the air thick with tension. A few guests began to leave, sensing the situation spiraling, but others stayed, drawn to the spectacle. Amara's heart raced, not from fear, but from a growing resolve. She knew the truth would come out, but the cost of this moment, the public degradation, the assumption of her unworthiness, would linger. She glanced at the crowd, seeing a mix of curiosity, pity, and prejudice in their eyes. Then, From the back of the lobby, a new voice cut through. What the hell is going on here? It was deep, authoritative, and unmistakably furious. The crowd parted, and a man in a tailored gray suit strode forward. Marcus Reed, the hotel's owner and Amara's longtime mentor. His eyes locked onto hers, and in that moment, she knew the tide was about to turn. Marcus's presence shifted the room's energy. The clerk froze, his bravado faltering as Marcus approached the desk. Amara, Marcus said, his voice softening for her alone before turning icy as he faced Todd. Care to explain why you're harassing my CEO? The crowd gasped, phones lowering as whispers turned to stunned silence. Todd's face paled, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Amara stood taller, her briefcase now a shield, her composure a weapon. The truth was out, but the damage was done and the real battle was just beginning. The lobby fell into a stunned hush, the weight of Marcus's words hanging in the air like a thunderclap. Amara Jenkins, CEO of Meridian Enterprises, stood at the center of the storm, her gaze steady but her heart still racing from the humiliation. The clerk, Todd, stammered, his earlier confidence evaporating under Marcus's glare. "You didn't know?" "Sir," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. The crowd shifted, some guests averting their eyes, others whispering furiously, their phones now capturing a different kind of drama. Amara's ID lay on the counter, a small but potent symbol of the truth Todd had dismissed. Marcus stepped closer to the desk, his presence commanding. At 60, he carried the gravitas of a man who'd built an empire from nothing, his dark eyes sharp with indignation. "You didn't know?" he repeated, his voice low but cutting. "You didn't think to check the system properly? Or did you just assume she didn't belong because of how she looks?" The accusation landed like a blow, and Todd flinched, his hands fumbling with the keyboard. Amara watched, her emotions a tangle of relief and fury. She'd faced prejudice before, but this being targeted in her own hotel, her authority questioned in front of strangers felt like a betrayal of everything she'd worked for. She stepped forward, reclaiming her space. "Marcus, I told him to check the system," she said, her voice calm but edged with steel. "He chose to ignore me." The crowd's murmurs grew, some nodding in support, others still skeptical, their biases not so easily shaken. Marcus turned to Amara, his expression softening. "I'm sorry this happened, Amara. This isn't what we stand for." He turned back to Todd, his voice rising. "You've got 5 minutes to explain why you thought humiliating a guest, let alone the so, is acceptable." Todd's face flushed red, his excuses tumbling out. "She didn't look like, her reservation wasn't clear, and we get people trying to sneak in all the time." The words were a desperate grasp at justification, but they only deepened the hole he'd dug. Amara's eyes flicked to the crowd, catching the woman in the red dress who'd whispered earlier. The woman looked away, her face flushed with embarrassment. Amara felt a flicker of satisfaction, but also a deeper ache. This wasn't just about Todd. It was about a system that let assumptions like his thrive unchecked. Marcus gestured to the security guard, who'd been hovering uncertainly. "Stand down, James. This ends now." The guard nodded, stepping back, his radio silent. Marcus turned to the computer, pulling up Amara's reservation himself. The screen glowed with her name, title, and VIP status in bold letters. He spun the monitor toward Todd. "See that? Amara Jenkins, CEO. Your boss. You owe her an apology." Todd's eyes widened, but his mouth stayed shut, pride or fear holding him back. Amara didn't need his words, she needed change. She cleared her throat, addressing the crowd now. I came here tonight to check on my team, to ensure our guests feel welcomed. Clearly, we have work to do. Her voice carried, steady and powerful, silencing the whispers. A few guests nodded, one even clapping softly, but others remained silent, their discomfort palpable. Amara's gaze landed on Todd. You assumed I didn't belong because of my skin. That's not just a mistake, it's a failure of character. The words hit hard, and Todd looked away, his shoulders slumping. Marcus placed a hand on Amara's shoulder. Let's take this to my office. We need to talk. As they walked away, the crowd parted, some offering apologetic glances, others still clutching their phones. Amara felt the weight of the moment, knowing this wasn't just about her. It was about every person who'd ever been judged, dismissed, or shamed for who they were. In Marcus's office, the door closed behind them, shutting out the chaos. He poured 2 glasses of water, handing one to Amara. I should have been here sooner, he said, his voice heavy with regret. Amara shook her head. This isn't on you, Marcus. It's on a culture that lets people like Todd think they can judge me without consequence. She sipped the water, her hands steady now. But I'm not letting this go. We're going to fix this starting with him. Marcus nodded, his jaw tight. Agreed. But first, tell me what you need. Amara's eyes gleamed with determination. I need a plan. Training. Accountability. A complete overhaul of how we handle bias here. And I want to lead it. The fight was far from over, but Amara was ready to turn this moment into something bigger. Amara sat across from Marcus in his office, the city's lights twinkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The weight of the lobby incident still clung to her, but her mind was already racing toward solutions. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his hands folded. You're right, Amara. This isn't just about Todd. It's about every employee, every guest, every assumption that slips through the cracks. He paused, his eyes searching hers. But you know how deep this runs. Changing a culture isn't easy. Amara's lips curved into a determined smile. Nothing worth doing is. She pulled out her tablet, already drafting ideas. Mandatory bias training for all staff, starting next week. We bring in experts, not some generic consultant, but people who've lived this. And we need a clear policy, one strike for blatant disrespect. No exceptions. Marcus nodded, scribbling notes. I'll back you, but you'll face pushback. Some staff will call it overkill. Some guests, too. Amara's eyes flashed. Let them. If they can't handle treating people with respect, they don't belong here. The conversation was cut short by a knock at the door. It was Lena, the hotel's HR manager, her face pale. Amara, Marcus, it's gone viral. She held up her phone, showing a video of the lobby incident already racking up thousands of views on social media. The caption read, Hotel clerk shames black woman shocking reveal. Amara's stomach twisted as she watched herself on the screen, standing tall but visibly shaken as Todd berated her. The comments were a mix of outrage, support, and vile racism, some questioning her credentials, others demanding justice. Marcus cursed under his breath. This is a PR nightmare. Amara shook her head. It's more than that. It's a wake-up call. She stood, pacing. We don't spin this. We own it. Issue a statement tonight, acknowledge the incident, apologize, and outline our plan to address bias. Transparency is the only way. Lena hesitated. That's risky. The board might push for damage control. Amara's voice was firm. The board answers to me. We're not hiding from this. By midnight, the statement was drafted. Amara insisted on signing it herself. Her name and title in bold: Amara Jenkins, CEO, Meridian Enterprises. It acknowledged the incident, apologized to guests who witnessed it, and promised immediate action, including staff retraining and a review of hiring practices. As Lena sent it out, Amara's phone buzzed with notification support from colleagues, outrage from strangers, and a few threats that made her pause. She silenced the device, focusing on Marcus. "We need to talk to Todd. Now." They found him in the break room, slouched in a chair, scrolling through his phone. He jumped up when they entered, his face a mix of fear and defiance. "I didn't know who she was," he blurted. Amara stepped forward, her voice calm but unyielding. "That's the problem, Todd. You didn't care to find out. You saw my skin and decided I was less." He opened his mouth to protest, but Marcus cut him off. "You're suspended, effective immediately. HR will handle the rest." Todd's face crumpled, but Amara felt no pity, only a burning need to ensure this wouldn't happen again. As Todd left, Amara turned to Marcus. "This is just the start. We need to audit every hotel in the chain. If this happened here, it's happening elsewhere." Marcus nodded, but his expression was grim. "You're poking a hornet's nest, Amara. Not everyone will like this." She met his gaze, unflinching. "Good. Let them sting. I'm not backing down." The night stretched on, plans forming, but Amara knew the real fight was coming, not just with Todd, but with a system that had let this moment happen in the first place. The next morning, the Grand Meridian Hotel was a hive of activity. Reporters camped outside, their cameras flashing as guests hurried past. Inside, Amara stood in the conference room, addressing the hotel's senior staff. Her navy blazer was gone, replaced by a crisp white blouse and tailored slacks. But her resolve was stronger than ever. "This isn't about one incident," she said, her voice resonating in the quiet room. "It's about a culture that fails people like me every day. We're changing that, starting now." She outlined her plan: mandatory bias training, a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination, and a new guest feedback system to catch issues early. The managers listened, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. One, a middle-aged man named Greg, spoke up. "With all due respect, Amara, this feels like a reaction to one bad apple. Do we really need to overhaul everything?" The room tensed, but Amara didn't flinch. "One bad apple. Greg, that bad apple humiliated me in my own hotel. How many others have been treated the same way and didn't have a title to protect them?" Greg looked away, and Amara pressed on. "This isn't optional. If you can't commit to this, you're welcome to leave." The room was silent, the weight of her words sinking in. After the meeting, Lena pulled Amara aside. "The board's nervous. They're getting calls from investors worried about the PR fallout." Amara's eyes narrowed. "Let them be nervous. If they want to talk, they can meet me here. I'm not hiding." By afternoon, the story had spread beyond Atlanta. National news outlets picked it up, framing it as a clash of race, power, and privilege. Social media was a battlefield. Some praised Amara's leadership. Others called her a publicity seeker. And worse, she ignored the noise, focusing on the work. She met with the training consultants, a team led by Dr. Simone Carter, a Black psychologist who specialized in workplace bias. "This won't be easy," Simone warned. "People resist what they don't want to see in themselves." Amara nodded. "Then we make them see." That evening, Amara returned to the lobby, now quiet but still heavy with the memory of the night before. She noticed a young Black couple checking in, their eyes wary as they approached the desk. The new clerk, a woman named Sarah, greeted them warmly, but Amara saw the couple's hesitation. She approached, offering a smile. "Welcome to the Grand Meridian. I'm Amara Jenkins, the CEO. If you need anything, let me know." Their eyes widened, and the woman, Tasha, smiled back. "Thank you. It's good to know you're here." Amara felt a spark of hope, but also a reminder of how much work lay ahead. As she left the lobby, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Board wants a meeting tomorrow. Be ready." Amara's jaw tightened. She knew the board, mostly older, mostly white, mostly male, would push back. They want to smooth things over, protect the brand, avoid rocking the boat. But Amara wasn't here to play nice. She was here to rebuild, to make the Grand Meridian a place where no one felt like an outsider. As she stepped into the elevator, she caught her reflection in the mirrored walls, tired but unbroken. The fight was just beginning, and she was ready for it. The boardroom was a stark contrast to the warm chaos of the lobby. Its long mahogany table gleamed under fluorescent lights, and the 12 board members sat in high-backed chairs, their faces a mix of curiosity and unease. Amara stood at the head of the table, her tablet in hand, her posture unyielding. Marcus sat to her right, his support a quiet but powerful presence. The chairman, Richard Holt, a silver-haired man with a penchant for control, cleared his throat. "Amara, we've seen the statement. It's bold, but the negative press is hurting our stock. We need to dial this back." Amara's eyes locked onto his. "Dial it back. A woman was publicly shamed in our hotel because of her race. That's not a PR problem, it's a moral failure." Richard shifted, his fingers tapping the table. "We understand, but sweeping changes could alienate staff and guests. We need balance." Amara leaned forward, her voice steady. "Balance doesn't mean ignoring injustice. It means doing what's right, even when it's hard. If our stock takes a hit, so be it. Our integrity is worth more." The room was silent, but tension crackled. A younger board member, Emily Chun, spoke up. "I agree with Amara. This is a chance to lead, not just react. Our competitors are watching. Let's show them we mean business." Amara nodded, grateful for the ally. But Richard wasn't swayed. "Training is fine, but firing staff like Todd, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen." Amara's smile was tight. "Todd wasn't fired yet. He's suspended pending investigation. If you're worried about lawsuits, worry about the ones from guests who feel unsafe here." The debate stretched on, voices rising. Some board members supported Amara's plan. Others echoed Richard's caution. Marcus finally intervened. "Enough. Amara's the CEO. She's built this company as much as I have. If you don't trust her to lead, you don't trust Meridian." The room quieted, and Richard relented, though his expression was sour. "Fine. But we expect results. Amara." She nodded. "You'll get them." After the meeting, Amara and Marcus walked to his office. "You handled that well," he said. Amara sighed. "They're scared of change. But fear won't stop me." Marcus chuckled. "Never has." They spent the next hour refining the training plan with Simone, who'd already begun assessing staff. "We're starting with small groups," Simone said. "Get them to confront their biases in a safe space." Amara nodded. "Good. But I want to be in those sessions. They need to see I'm serious." By evening, Amara was back in the lobby, observing the staff. Sarah, the new clerk, was handling check-ins smoothly, but Amara noticed her glance nervously at a black family waiting in line. Amara approached, offering a reassuring nod. "You're doing great, Sarah. Just keep listening to the guests." Sarah smiled, relaxing slightly. Amara knew change wouldn't happen overnight, but every step counted. As she left the hotel, her phone buzzed with a new email guest complaint about a similar incident at another Meridian property. Amara's heart sank, but her resolve hardened. This was bigger than one hotel, and she was ready to fight for every inch of progress. The training sessions began the following week, and Amara was there for the first one, sitting among the staff in a conference room turned classroom. Simone stood at the front, her presence warm but commanding. "Today, we're not just learning rules," she said. "We're learning to see people really see them." The room was a mix of front desk clerks, housekeepers, and managers, some attentive, others skeptical. Amara watched their faces, noting who leaned in and who crossed their arms. Simone showed a video of the lobby incident, edited to protect Amara's identity but raw in its impact. Gasps rippled through the room as Todd's voice boomed, accusing Amara of not belonging. Simone paused the video. "What do you see here?" A housekeeper named Maria raised her hand. He judged her before she could speak. Simone nodded. "Exactly. That's bias in action. It's not always loud, but it's always harmful." The discussion grew heated, some staff defending Todd's mistake, others sharing their own experiences of being judged. Amara listened, her silence a choice to let them wrestle with the truth. After the session, a young clerk named Jamal approached her. "Ms. Jenkins, I've seen stuff like this before. Not just here. I didn't know what to do." His voice trembled, and Amara saw the weight he carried. "You're doing something now, Jamal. Speak up, even when it's hard. That's how we change." He nodded, a spark of determination in his eyes. Amara felt a flicker of hope, but the email from the previous night gnawed her. The problem was systemic, and one hotel's progress wasn't enough. She spent the afternoon on calls with managers from other Meridian properties, demanding reports on similar incidents. The responses were grim subtle slights, outright discrimination, all swept under the rug. Amara's anger grew, but so did her vision. She drafted a company-wide memo, announcing a task force to audit every hotel's practices. She'd lead it herself, traveling to each location if needed. Marcus approved, but warned, "This will stretch you thin, Amara." She smiled grimly. "Good. I'm not here to be comfortable." That evening, Amara joined a community forum hosted by a local activist group. The room was packed, voices raw with anger and hope. A woman named Keisha stood, holding a microphone. "I saw what happened to you, Ms. Jenkins. It's not just your hotel. It's everywhere." The crowd murmured agreement, and Amara took the stage. "You're right," she said. "But I'm not just fighting for me. I'm fighting for all of us." The applause was thunderous, but Amara knew words weren't enough. She needed action, and she needed it now. As she left the forum, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Todd had filed a wrongful suspension claim, alleging he was unfairly targeted. Amara's blood boiled. This wasn't just a fight for justice, it was a war against a system that protected people like Todd while silencing people like her. She called Lena. "Get me everything on his claim. We're not letting this slide." The battle lines were drawn, and Amara was ready to charge. Amara's days became a blur of meetings, travel, and strategy sessions. She visited 3 Meridian hotels in a week, each revealing its own issues, complaints buried, staff untrained, managers indifferent. In Charlotte, a Black guest had been denied a room upgrade despite availability. In Miami, A Latina housekeeper faced daily microaggressions. Amara listened to every story, her notebook filling with names and incidents. She met with staff, held town halls, and pushed for immediate changes. But the weight of it all tested her. Back in Atlanta, Todd's claim gained traction. His lawyer argued he'd been unfairly vilified for a simple mistake, and a small but vocal group of employees rallied behind him, claiming the training was divisive. Amara read their petition in Marcus's office, her hands trembling with anger. "They're saying I'm the problem," she said, tossing the paper onto the desk. Marcus sighed. "They're scared of accountability. But you've got more support than you think." He showed her emails from staff across the chain, praising her leadership and sharing their own stories of bias. Amara leaned on those stories as she prepared for a press conference. The hotel steps were lined with reporters, their questions sharp and relentless. "Ms. Jenkins, are you using this incident for publicity?" one asked. Amara's eyes flashed. "I'm using it to make sure no one else feels what I felt. This isn't about might, it's about justice." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others scribbling notes. She announced the task force, detailing its mission to root out bias across all Meridian properties. "We're not perfect," she said, "but we're committed to being better." The press conference aired live, and social media erupted. Supporters hailed Amara as a trailblazer. Detractors called her a troublemaker. She ignored the noise, focusing on the task force's first report, which revealed systemic issues in hiring and guest relations. Amara presented it to the board, who were now grudgingly on board after seeing public support grow. Richard Holt, still skeptical, asked, "How do we know this won't bankrupt us?" Amara's response was swift. "How do we know ignoring it won't destroy us?" That night, Amara sat alone in her office, the city's lights a quiet backdrop. She opened an email from Tasha, the guest she'd met in the lobby. "Thank you for fighting. My daughter saw you on TV and said she wants to be like you." Amara's eyes stung, and she typed a quick reply, "Tell her she already is." The message grounded her, reminding her why she was fighting. But as she closed her laptop, a new email evaded a legal notice. Todd's lawyer was escalating, demanding a public apology and reinstatement. Amara's resolve hardened. This wasn't over, and she was ready for the final showdown. The courtroom was a stark contrast to the Grand Meridian's opulence: gold, gray, and unforgiving. Amara sat at the defendant's table, her lawyer beside her, as Todd's attorney painted him as a victim of overzealous reform. The gallery was packed, reporters and activists watching every move. Amara's heart pounded, but her face was a mask of calm. She'd faced worse than this, and she wasn't about to back down now. Todd took the stand, his voice shaky but defiant. "I made a mistake, but I didn't deserve to lose my job." His lawyer presented emails from coworkers supporting him, framing Amara's response as excessive. Amara's lawyer countered with the video, the guest complaints, and Simone's testimony about the pervasive bias in the hotel's culture. "This wasn't a mistake," Simone said. "It was a choice rooted in prejudice." The judge listened, her expression unreadable. Amara took the stand last, her voice steady as she recounted the lobby incident, not just the facts, but the weight of it. "I've spent my life proving I belong," she said. "That night, I was reminded that for some, I never will. But I'm not here for me. I'm here for every person who's been made to feel less." The gallery was silent, some wiping tears. The judge ruled in Amara's favor. Todd's claim was dismissed, his suspension upheld. But Amara felt no triumph, only resolve to keep going. Back at the hotel, the task force's work was showing results. Training sessions were now standard, and guest satisfaction scores were rising, especially among minority groups. Amara walked the lobby, noticing small changes, staff greeting every guest with genuine warmth. A new diversity council meeting in the conference room. Sarah, the clerk, approached her. I was scared at first, but the training helped. I'm trying to do better. Amara smiled. That's all I ask. That evening, Amara hosted a gala for the community, raising funds for local anti-racism initiatives. The ballroom was packed, Tasha and her daughter among the guests. The girl, no older than 10, hugged Amara. I'm going to be a CEO too, she declared. Amara laughed, kneeling to meet her eyes. You will. And you'll be better than me. As the night ended, Marcus raised a glass to Amara. You're changing the game, he said. She clinked her glass against his. We're just getting started. Amara stepped outside, the Atlanta skyline glowing under a starlit sky. The fight wasn't over. Bias was deep-rooted, and change was slow. But she'd turned pain into purpose, shame into strength. She thought of her younger self, the girl who dreamed big despite the world's doubts. That girl was still in her, and she was fighting for a world where no one had to prove they belonged. With a deep breath, Amara walked back inside, ready for whatever came next.